trenches in terms of like 80, like, you know, we're like the tier 3 80 carry marks with the meta, right? I like going towards some of these other things first, picking up the Cassante here. They probably don't want to save 80 carry for second rotation, though. That does leave you to potentially get pinched out even more.
Yeah. Even stuff like the Xayah is kind of taken off the board by the fact that Rakan is not going to be in the on the table. I mean, you know, Zeri, open and available, could be an option. Ezreal, things like this. But like you say, prioritizing the more powerful picks that are available, especially since Senna's already taken. So Mark is going to go for the Tahm Kench. Fairly expected there. I wouldn't be too surprised to see a jungler locked in as well. Or maybe even the Udyr, since Cassante is already locked.
Yeah, Udyr would definitely stand out to me. We even have things like the Maokai still present, Azir, something that we haven't seen linked on really at all so far in this series. So Scout gonna get his hands on that. And for me, it's like, okay, Weibo, it's gonna be really hard the longer this game goes, considering you're playing up against a Senna and Azir. So I think kind of bringing their bot lane in line with something that can find a lead, can generate an advantage, whether they want to go with like poke supports and us seeing like things like the Ezreal Karma earlier. Brand is something that would play into it well, assuming it isn't Rel going bot. I feel like so many supports love putting the Rel into the TK, despite the fact that sure, like there's a shield break there. It doesn't feel like it actually brings you that much advantage. But you go way back to when Tahm Kench initially got released, and you were getting tons of brand supports coming out to go up against him. Really just makes his life a living hell.
I don't think he'll be the brand support. I think it's going to be brand jungle, to be honest. I remember the #1 counter in my mind for the Tahm Kench is Blitzcrank. Like, he eats someone, you get a double hook, he shields, you de-shield him. Like, I don't know, it feels very hard to play Tahm Kench in that scenario. Anyway, it's not going to be the Blitzcrank, so I'll move on. Udyr taken off the board. We did consider that as an option for LNG before the bans, but now it's not been picked. Weibo are immediately going to get rid as the Tristana taken away from Xiaohu as well.
Yeah, to me, assuming that they're going to keep going into the assumption that Brand's jungle, right, you're either banning out LeBlanc here or even potentially Yone. I think I've seen Xiaohu played a few times in solo queue, even if it's not something we really know him a ton for. That's if they wanted to go for that mixed damage and try and set up a really bursty combo in that 2v2. But now, a lot is going to be revealed in terms of where some of these picks are going, unless Weibo just lock it in 80 carry here. Then we're still going to be waiting in anticipation.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, even if they lock in an 80 carry, I'm still in anticipation of what that is going to be. I really have no idea what direction they'll go. It is the Corki for Xiaohu. So none too surprising there. Corki versus Azir mid. Who could have seen this coming? It's now LNG looking for the jungler. Then they've got to pick up what they're going to go against with this Cassante.
Yeah. I mean, right, we still have things like the Aatrox open. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Aatrox taken off the board. Gnar being there, Rumble. Those kind of being the two big ones, which they've obviously already both
Gwen
shown.
as well.
I feel like we haven't really been seeing a whole lot. Hell, we've only had one Gwen pick so far.
Yeah.
Here in the LPL. So not too much to go off of.
Oh, go on, Light. Do it. Do it for the TikTok.
Honestly, I don't even know what I'd like to see here. Again, with like kind of how far out of the realms of what we're seeing played and like picked up on a daily basis with all these 80 carry bans. It is actually madness. He's gonna go with the Kai'Sa, so that does set up for the Brand to definitely be in the jungle. Gonna look for some of these all-ins, but right for Weibo, I think we're definitely looking a lot more at them playing 5v5 around the early objective timers. That's what feels like where they will be most powerful. So trying to guarantee that first dragon, maybe even dedicating XiaoHao up to playing around grubs and maybe like rotating Crisp up at that time, since you know Gala and Mark won't be able to put a ton of pressure down in that 2v2. So LNG have a lot of scaling advantages there, do have a lot of setup to look for potential plays, and later on they'll be able to lean on the pressure that the Gnar's putting up insides.
So I've got a fun little factoid for you, Lyric. This is only the second game of Kai'Sa so far this split, and the first game was a loss, which means in the 2024 LPL, Kai'Sa is as successful as an AD carry as Rammus is. That's the timeline that we're living in, and I think they're hoping that they're going to change that timeline now, as we go for the Kaiser up against Senna down in that bottom side. Definitely an interesting draft, changing styles a little bit. The brand jungle coming out once again. And we'll see how this game 3 is going to go down. Very quiet early games in our first 2. But I'm hoping with some of these tools, we've got the Maokai to start plays. We've got the Gnar that can maybe bully in the top side. There's space for some exciting gameplay.
I'm also just interested, right? Because you have a champion like Corki who usually does want to like kind of lean back. Brand as well, have like a bit of space to just be able to throw up those spells. But the rest of your composition just about full sending it. So I definitely expect us to see a much more aggressive Xiaohu and XiaoHao coming out this game.
Definitely agree with that one. On the other side, LNG, I feel like they're going to have a very different style of Senna to what we saw from Weibo last game, right? Weibo kind of being quite aggressive with this Senna, not really waiting to scale up. I feel like we're going to see a very different version here from Gala. You've got an Azir alongside you. You're playing for late game, front to back. I mean, the composition from LNG just screams teamfight at you. And in the break, we were talking about this Azir pick, and we're saying how we want scaling from the Senna. And you were literally saying to me, I'd love to see more Azir with Hail of Blades so that you've got a little bit more early and mid-game presence from your mid laner to allow Senna to scale up. Well, LNG, I'm giving you it with a bow on
You're
top.
right. It's actually, I didn't even realize this is literally what we just talked about. But yeah, I feel like, Azir's been hit so many times over the years, just being a staple in pro play, that a lot of the early and like mid-game power that like he used to have more of that, right? Even if he always has been more of like a scaling mage, feels like definitely more has died over the years, and Hail of Blades makes up for that a little bit. Going to be able to go for a lot of these nice trades, try and supplement some of that damage. I also really want to highlight that Zika can have a big impact in this game on that Gnar. The longer we go, you really don't have any great answers to him on sides coming out from Weibo.
Oh, Gala might have stepped up a little bit too far here. Knock up big damage and already a cleanse burnt on that Senna, but a good retrade on the backside of it. And Chris burning down with the ignite. He'll walk away with his life, but man, what looked like such a good trade for Weibo goes disastrously in the end.
I'm not able to pull it through, and Mark and Gala still sitting at full health bars. They're going to have that sustain coming through from the fleet, from Gala's Qs in general. So they're feeling like they're in a great spot. Still, Weibo able to hit level 2 first, so they will maintain control over the lane. And right, having pressure bot, having pressure in mid, enabling this brand is really what they're going to be built off of.
Certainly is. I'm looking towards the Gnar, though. You mentioned already, Zika has the ability to have a big impact on this game. Like, in the matchup, especially when you're mini Gnar, you have a lot of space to try and hit that tower. If WeiWei uses that priority up top, and if Scout can get priority in the mid lane as well, you have a lot of space to go for early grubs, and Gnar will use those grubs so well across the course of the game in a side lane. There's a lot of potential for great macro and map play out from LNG later on if they can stack up some of those grubs.
Yeah, and I kind of want to keep the focus on top lane just for a second, even though we're not going to see anything happen there at all, just to point out that, like, we have also seen more Gnars start taking Ghost into matchups, even against Cassante as well, because it's going to be very easy. Mini Gnar, if Zika even gives a slight window where he isn't already whittling him down, you pop the Ghost, you can land that Q3, and then even with the flash, like you said, it's so hard to escape these top laners that are running Ghost right now.
Yeah, it's really difficult, especially if you're sort of in the middle of the lane. There's so much of top lane to chase you down over. And most of them, like Cassante, Udyr, they're quite happy to go for a dive. They're quite happy to tank like 3, 4, maybe even 5 tower shots, especially a little bit later on in the laning phase. So it can become an incredibly difficult situation. Gnar, on the other hand, does have the hop as well. So a lot of the time you are a little bit safer. So Zika is going to go with the flash. The one thing I will say is for Gnar, the flash in a team fight later on becomes invaluable.
Oh, I mean, I agree, yeah. It does feel game-changing, which obviously for LNG, they are playing for those moments. They're completely fine with WeiWei just full clearing his jungle, shadowing for some of his lanes, just trying to make sure that nothing goes awry. Scout going to do a nice job trying to hold this wave here.
That cost him a lot of HP. That's a third of his HP to hold that wave there. So Scout does have a health potion in his pocket, so should be able to sustain up a little bit. XiaoHao gonna get aggressed upon by WeiWei. Has the phase rush, so he can sort of get away with it. Although the electrocute was procced by XiaoHao as well.
Not a whole lot of mana for Xiaohu, though. So I think even tanking some of that HP for Scout is worth. Like, sure, you have the cookie there for Xiaohu to get that back, but is going to have to go for the reset. Now it gives him a better position to play off this wave from, with Xiaohu not having TP.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised to see Zika going for the Fleet Footwork rather than Grasp in this matchup. Like, I'm not a top laner. I don't know this matchup super well. I'm not going to claim to be a Gnar versus K'Sante expert, but you'd think you'll have quite a lot of opportunity to just get those autos in and proc yourself a Grasp, build up some HP over the course of the game. But I suppose wanting that sustain, make sure he stays healthy.
I feel like it's the movement speed, too. The movement speed's so important because, again, you could very easily get run down in this top lane matchup as the Gnar. I know we've seen it this split. Sadly, we just have so many games with like so many similar drafts. I can't remember when it happened, but definitely we've seen a K'Sante with Ghost solo kill a Gnar who didn't bring Ghost. Regretted it.
Yep. Definitely a potential option. Double support items once again from the LNG bottom lane. Light, though, not going to go for the support item on the Kai'Sa. Instead, going to go for the Cull. Kind of the opposite strategy here. Well, I guess it's kind of... Fundamentally, it's a similar idea, right? You're essentially going for an economic play. Scout forcing out the Valkyrie in the mid lane there. It does mean Light will be able to farm all game long, whereas Gala will not. Well, I guess he will, but just reduced gold.
Yeah, so still both going to be definitely generating gold early on. Scout now has Emperor's Divide, which always sets up for the plays to come out, but he definitely didn't expect XiaoHao to be waiting in the wings. Looks like Weibo trying to set up some kind of pressure on bot lane to lean in and maybe relieve this push coming out on top of Crisp and Light, because that is a massive wave.
Yeah, huge wave there. But Light will be there to clean things up. LNG could use the wave, though, to grab themselves a Drake in this early game. Slow and steady wins the race for LNG here, and their draft really screams that at you. They are playing for the long game. Crisp, potentially trying to move in here. Just takes a huge chunk for his trouble, though, but might be able to reset this Drake, and LNG actually forced away by this.
Yeah, great movement coming out from Weibo. Even Xiaohu leaned down a little bit. I wonder if that played into it at all, because you can see Scout doesn't have any vision around his lane for himself. It is all in Weibo's favor. And for Weibo, this makes sense, right? You don't necessarily want to fight right now. Despite the fact that their comp, I feel like, does come online a little bit earlier, it's still about playing around those package timings. Still about setting up for those big moments for you to really just spread LNG apart in a team fight.
Yeah, waiting for those big moments, but enough anyway that they could dissuade anything. And that's all they needed. That's all they needed, just playing slow. LNG did get the first 3 grubs. They'll be spawning in another minute and a half. They would have loved to get that Drake just so that they can then set up on the top side for the second grub spawn, but I wonder if we do see LNG focusing really hard on trying to get that second round of grubs, or if they'll perhaps trade instead and go for the Drake. I wonder if Weibo as well will contest in a big way.
I think at this point, when first Drake hasn't been taken super early, if we get to a circumstance where it's like, okay, we're giving up first Drake for second grubs, I think that is, for LNG, that'd be great. Like you pointed out, having that Gnar, he's going to be hitting turret, like the opportunity's there. And hell, I guess if Weibo or LNG take it any earlier, then it probably won't have to come to a trade. They're waiting 50 seconds right now on the next spawns.
We'll see if anyone's able to grab those grubs. I'm sure someone will go for it. But I've got to be honest, I don't expect a big fight for them. Lyric, this series has set itself up for a slow burn, right? It's been a slow burn kind of series, and generally speaking, in my experience in the LPL, the longer a series goes on, the slower the games get as well, especially the early games. So I feel like this one could even be slower than the other two, which really is saying something. The record for the latest first blood in the LPL is 33 minutes in. XiaoHao wanted to make sure that they're not on that record. Scout getting a knockback onto Xiaohu in the mid lane. The roots are going to hit, actually. And there we go. All we had to do was say the record, and we instantly cursed it. Scout grabbing first blood.
Not using that flash, not expecting the follow-up to be there from WeiWei. And it was there incredibly fast. So nice play coming out from LNG, which is now going to let them pivot back down towards this bot side. Looks like that's where they're going to be leaning towards with how aggressive their bot lane's fighting. They might even find Crisp.
Oh, Crisp has, in fact, been found, but the crash down does get him out to safety. In the meantime, XiaoHao up in the top side will get these grubs. So it is, I was going to say it is going to be a trade, the grubs for the Drake, but actually the Drake not going to go down. So 3 grubs apiece here. Great engage from Scout.
Yeah, gets pushed over, now starts seeing the roots, doesn't even have time to flash after that, right? Before that, not even having to read. That WeiWei was going to go for that play. Xiaohu himself didn't have vision in that brush. But I'm really surprised that LNG weren't the team to lean up into the grubs. Really feels like the 6 would have been massive for them. As we can see, right, Zika still just doing so much work in this 1v1.
Yeah, feeling fantastic for Zika. XiaoHao moving up, but spotted on a ward, so Zika should be relatively safe here. In fact, toying with the idea that maybe XiaoHao's sticking around for a plate. He's not going to be spotted on the Tribrush ward, or at least spotted that he's not there on the ward. Light could be in trouble, though. Flash immediately, followed by a top flash, and gobbled up. Mark is feeling aggressive. The root comes in. The Q is there. They don't have the damage. Oh, but Gala flashing under the tower. 3 summoners, but a kill nonetheless.
Mark catching Light, sleeping there. My God. Finds the opportunity, and now be able to get just even more plays taking this bot lane. We haven't hit on gold yet. It's a 2k gold lead for LNG so far. Not unfamiliar territory to Weibo, but I definitely feel like we're seeing LNG a lot more on point in this 3rd game than, you know, out of the 2 teams.
We certainly are. Big gold lead built up in that top side. You can see CS deficit, but I believe a couple of plates taken as well by Zika. We've just seen a plate taken in the bottom side. A kill there as well. A kill for Scout in the mid lane. It's all looking pretty good as Crisp rooted up. Gala wanted to get aggressive. He really wanted to reset, though, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Denied that by Crisp.
Not going to be able to go for the reset, but at least finally a dragon. But again, I feel like we've seen a lot of these like later first Drakes, not the super impactful. But I guess with the fact that the grubs end up being a wash kind of just equalizes everything.
That was a bit of a weird one between the mid laners. Oh my goodness. Xiaohu decides he doesn't want this fight anymore. I think Scout ulted just a split second too early.
That's what it looked like.
The package was still in play.
Yeah, gonna go back to the replay here. Spot them walking over, come in, has to burn the flash right away. It was a very nice flash, but doesn't account for Mark being able to follow up, swallow him whole. And I didn't think LNG were gonna get it, but in the end, Gala flashes to guarantee shield from the Guardian there too, to make sure that the damage from turret is minimized. Just nice things to see from, again, this like old reunited bot lane duo of Gala and Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, feels good to see. Oh, that was a big one.
That was a big one.
I don't think it would have killed, but you never know. Corki does surprising damage sometimes. And we'll get his reset off in the end. Yeah, exciting stuff here from LNG. And I love to see the aggression, right? You see the window, like this is Senna Tom Kench. This is not a bot lane duo that's known for being aggressive. But like any AD carry support combo, if you give them an opportunity and they are good players, there is a window for kill. There is a window for aggression. And I love that Gala and Mark, even on the center Tom Kench, are looking for those opportunities.
I also think Tom Kench, especially can, set up to be a bit more of an aggressive champion to be able to go in and look for those opportunities. But like you said, it doesn't really matter what you're playing. You got to be willing to go in while the iron is hot. They were. And now kind of looking at where we're at in terms of items, Weibo having some key ones, right? XiaoHao with Leandries especially. That's when Brand really just starts to lay down the punishment. But we're getting close to first break points for LNG as well.
Oh, some big damage.
There's the Leandries.
In there. We've got an all-in on the bottom side. Zika, mini Nard, doesn't even have anything in the Nard bar. The Q3 dodged away from ZDZ, goes underneath the tower. But he ain't scared. Gets the shield for the tower shot as well. And a solo kill for ZDZ in the top side.
And right, once you pop that all out, you have the increased damages coming through. He already has the Iceborne Gauntlet, which is going to enable him even more. Just so hard as mini Nard to feel safe in that 1v1. ZDZ does have TP if Weibo opted into trying to contest this, but looks like the answer is no so far. Zika would also be able to join too.
I think this might just be LNG taking it, but then again, Weibo showing some presence. Mark and Gala split from their team, but a TP means Weibo suddenly in quite an awkward position to take this fight. Herald down to 1,000 as it's taken in the end. Weibo grabbed the Herald. I don't think they'll get the eye. And I don't think they'll get a fight either. They're trying to flee for their lives, but the slow comes down onto XiaoHao. Zika can't quite chase it. Xiaohu Valkyries to safety. Weibo, bit of a hit and run on Herald. Take down the objective, can't grab the eye, but deny it from LNG.
And look at the mini-map. ZDZ instantly TPs bot to at least guarantee that they get something out of this. It looks like it'll potentially... Okay, no. So Weibo will be able to defend. So it feels weird to call it a net pot. Okay, good. I was going to say... God, that almost gave me flashbacks to XiaoHao the other day. Like,
yeah.
that was not pretty.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Oh dear! Just as he turned mini nah, finds the opportunity.
Yeah.
Really nice from CDC.
Exactly, just great timing. Has you out there. I thought maybe once he missed the Q3 he wouldn't be able to, but with the fact that he does have the Spell Blade damage as well coming from that Iceborne Gauntlet, just being able to run him down. So. Yeah, it feels weird to say that Weibo came out on top in terms of that last play, but I guess they technically did. They got a tower?
Yeah, I'd say they did. I'd say they did. Oh, I don't think they'll come out on top of this play, though. Xiaohu has the flash, but no way out of this one. What is that damage onto Scout? I mean, I guess he took a turret shot as well. Well, that's pre-Malignant. He's already started to hit. There's now the counterplay on the bottom side of the map. Weibo want a solo laner of their own. Zika gets a knockback, but knocked back himself. Will be taken down. XiaoHao grabbing himself the kill credit for that one. Definitely the right target to be getting the gold.
Exactly. I love just the small things. The discipline coming out from Weibo there to make sure that it goes onto the brand. He's going to be one of the people who are going to be dealing the big damage in this game. As you see Light now with the Kraken Slayer going one of the more traditional Kai'Sa builds that we've seen. I think Light is the one I'm most interested to see how he finds an impact in this game. Yeah. But definitely XiaoHao feels like he's going to be the big damage dealer on the side of Weibo.
I feel like Light has the opportunity to change the meta in the LPL here. If he has a big pop-off game on the Kai'Sa, not only will it be popping off on Kai'Sa against Gala, who's one of our best modern Kai'Sas, but also just showing that Kai'Sa's still viable, right? Like, we've really not seen much Kai'Sa at all this year.
Yeah.
This is literally the second game of Kai'Sa. Going for the Kraken Slayer. It, like, can be an AD carry that can function extremely well in these kind of front-to-back situations. However, quite low range. You're against a Senna and an Azir.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
And even playing like the assassination kind of route, jump to the back line, like, there's a Tahm Kench, there is a Maokai, there's an Emperor's Divide. There's so many things to stop that as Weibo.
Yeah, we've got a TP with the package. LNG have taken.
Oh!
What a crash down across everyone. But is there any follow-up for the rest of the team? There's the package. But he's totally alone. This is a disaster for Weibo. Shields across the team. They finally... No, they don't even get Scout. He's gobbled up by Mark. Light, you got to do something. And he does. Finds himself a shut down onto the mid lane. But it's traded 1-for-1 here. And in fact, 2-for-1. Weibo, they're falling apart. Gala now chasing down. Has the slow. ZDZ 1 HP. But Light gets a bit of damage back onto Gala. They're burning. The W comes in. A weird one from Weibo. They lose the Drake, and then a bizarre fight to follow.
Yeah, LNG still just clawing out, just winning a battle of inches. But this to me is like where the idea from Weibo is amazing. The timing, the execution just slightly off. A lot of it being Xiaohu was still so far when Chris has to go for the engagement. Like, this was the perfect time for Rel to go in. I feel like he should have waited the package, but that might have been too long. Because with where he starts it, he ends right in the middle. He gets snarled. Like there's nothing you could do there. I think other than either get to the fight sooner or hold the package a bit longer, be able to actually fly across the screen and get yourself in safe range. But that's not what happened, and it led us to all these shenanigans where Gala is just untouched the whole time.
There was a route that came out from Gala there that was like an inch
close
away from hitting them, and they're grouped together at that point.
Yeah.
If the route hits, it hits everyone. That would have been devastating. I mean, honestly, if that route hits, that might be the play that kind of breaks the game open for LNG. Luckily for Weibo, it didn't hit. At the end of the day, Doesn't matter what nearly happened, all that matters is what actually happened. Xiaohu is looking to make it happen onto Gala. Both solo laners find solo kills simultaneously here. Now Zika wanting one of his own onto ZDZ. The Q3 knockback, and this is Cassante. Oh god, he's Cassanting all over him. Zika dodges away from the Q3. It couldn't have been closer.
That would have been madness. Madness if ZDZ pulled that one out, but now, with those two deaths, they can look for the siege in mid, trying to dissuade it with WeiWei's ult, but this Maokai ult is not going to do anything to stop the push coming through from Weibo. And again, this team is so frustrating. I love them. They keep finding these opportunities when they really should feel more down and out in the game. ZDZ going to run him down with the all-out. Great job. Dodging out on the upper side here. Does he only miss one Q? Yeah, okay, so he only...
It's his next Q that he misses.
Yeah.
If that hits, I think it's a kill.
I think so too.
That would have been a 2v1 against both solo laners. That's insane, man.
Even the Xiaohu damage in mid was very surprising. Obviously now does have the Malignance, which is you know where people really start to big up this Corki and when he gets strong. And I'm kind of two minds in terms of this result, right? Whichever team wins, whatever. But at the same time, I kind of want Corki to keep failing in the LPL. you know what I mean? If Corki keeps losing, maybe that means we don't get any Corki anymore. Yeah.
True. Yeah, maybe we need Weibo to lose this game just to you know, put that final little scratch in the gravestone of Corki mid. Yeah, we can dream, but I don't think it's happening, Lyric. I think regardless of this result.
Exactly. If people can keep playing Orianna, like with that result, they're going to keep going forever.
Yeah, we can dream, but I don't think it's happening. Scout shown over towards the Baron area, but I don't think Weibo believe anything's going on right now. 21 minutes on the clock. It's a Drake apiece with one spawning in a minute's time. I feel like both teams as well, very quick at taking the Baron down. Like the Kai'Sa incredibly quick at that. Xiaohu as well, not bad at shredding it, but then the Brand obviously just burns through it. But then Azir on the other side as well, very, very good. Taking the Baron down. WeiWei in a bit of an awkward spot, but they'll be okay. They don't want to overcommit to a tank.
Yeah, and you can see LNG leaned back into side. Scout just pushed that wave up and top. That's going to have to be answered. Zika still down there now with the TP. So Weibo were really hoping to find some kind of, you know, even if not like a full-on fight, get some kind of engage, try to force that Gnar up here. Ooh. But now they're going to have to go for resets.
I love this. Just 2 minutes. Your Azir is really the only one that's doing any significant Baron damage anyway. They did get spotted, unfortunately.
And they're just,
but hey,
like,
I like the idea.
They're also keeping more time where the Gnar just gets to push for free. I mean, now that wave, they're actively losing gold and experience in bot side, and now that's what Dragon on the table.
Really nice little macro play there from LNG, like you say, just robbing Weibo of gold and XP. Drake spawning on the map, ZDZ and XiaoHao in the area. They'll be able to go for this crab to make sure that they clear any wards in the area with the Void Crabbies, and they'll be able to get onto the Drake themselves.
Oh, and this is nice, because now they have Dragon, but as we saw, right, Xiaohu having the package, they might be able to lean up for an aggressive, you know, kind of bait around Baron. Doesn't look like they're setting up for anything like that, but would have been a pretty nice use of the timer that they have.
I'm going to go for anything, though. And I feel like both teams have kind of just accepted the reality of this series and said, look, guys, we're going a late game. It's just who we are. This is how we're playing the game today. And they've certainly got the carries for it. One of the things I'm going to be looking at in the late game, though, honestly, is how much does Xiaohu really do? Like, I don't think the result of this series will change much, but maybe how Xiaohu plays it, because we've seen some Corkis that really, really just devastate teams. But I'd say on average, we've seen Corkis that do very, very little in the fight.
I feel like we've seen a lot of LPL Corkis full send, which is great to watch, but is like not great for the Corki's chance of winning the fight.
Yeah, it's also just not what this build is designed to do. Like,
no, not at all.
Oh, good flash from Scout, predicts the flash from XiaoHao. Jungler down, that's going to be Baron for LNG.
And this is just rough now. I mean, you still have the poke to kind of play with and try and whittle them down, but I think LNG should be able to get this just fine. looking at Chris.
Xiaohu looking for rockets here, 7k on the Baron. There is no smite on the side of Weibo, so the objective should go to LNG. We're looking at the fight, but even that is a 4v5. Baron taken, and now Weibo just in a straight-up 4v5. Rockets coming on through. ZDZ pulls someone out of the pit. They're trying to find these fights, but Crisp getting whittled down here. Mark gobbles up his teammate, trying to save him as Crisp will fall. WeiWei still going on this one, as everybody's slowly falling down, but it's LNG still winning out.
LNG pick up the Baron, they pick up the fight, and we've already seen that Zika's been being a menace inside. Scout's been maintaining this pressure on top. They're going to be able to do a lot with this buff as Weibo.
Well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Lichbane now picked up by Scout. It's going to be a pretty nice fight because we're going to get to see here. You hit the nail on the head, right? It's a 4v5. It's such a tough situation. I kind of feel like Crisp had to go in and look for the big Magnet Storm a little bit earlier, not able to win out against the Baron. And then here, we can just see, right, Zika, Gala, just whittling them down. ZDZ trying to do his best on the back line. And my god, I actually wasn't paying too much attention to Gasante, but still, hell of a lot of damage coming out from ZDZ, but it's not enough in the end.
Yeah, ZDZ's doing a lot in these fights. And honestly, Mark kind of got hung out to dry there. Like, flashed over the wall to help his teammate, who then just dashed back the other direction. And suddenly Mark's in a 1v1 against a Cassante. Not ideal, but still. The gold now, what, 5,000 in favor of LNG. They've got a Baron. They got the 3 grubs, so every time they're hitting these towers, they're doing that extra bit of damage. They didn't manage to get that 3rd Drake, though. So, Drake, not really the objective that they care that much about this game. They'll probably take it as a consolation prize. But realistically, they want to get sieging with this Baron, and the roots are going to set up for exactly that. Ooh, the root on Corki's kind of huge. And that's some big old damage coming out from Gala in this stage.
And I'm Gala 97 stacks right now, right? He's getting massive. He's going to be... there actually isn't really going to be any great person on the side of Weibo to deal with the Senna. I guess you're kind of hoping ZDZ finds access, maybe sets up for Light to be able to jump in as well, and you can just take her down. But when you're next to the top Kench, when you have the Maokai there, there's just so many tools to really shut down this Kai'Sa, which felt like it'd have to play up more as like a cleanup AD carry into the comp it's playing against.
Does feel challenging. And I mean, this is the strength of the composition. We said it right at the start that LNG, you know, with a Senate and with an Azir, the longer the game goes on, the slower you can play it, the better you're going to feel about the situation. But honestly, I don't even feel like this was just LNG, you know, conceding everything in the early game and allowing Weibo to take control. They contested just enough, put enough pressure on that Weibo couldn't find advantages, and have still been able to slowly but surely scale into things. And this Kai'Sa pick for Light, the answer that they found after so many AD carries were banned, it does not feel like it's finding its way into the game.
Exactly, and I kind of going back to what you said as well, is even just build like what they built the rest of the comp with, like having the Azir Hail Blades as compared to the Orianna, having the Gnar instead of the Udyr in topside, so you have like a lot more threat this game than it felt like Weibo had in their previous one. But even just on top of the play, right? Mark looking for those opportunities bot side, forcing Light out when he was making mistakes. This feels like it's going to be a potential last stand for Weibo.
Package TP from Xiaohu arrives on the scene. You're absolutely right. I think this is the last ditch effort. Ooh, big damage onto Gala. Follow-up rocket dodge though. Gala take it down to half now, but he does have a lot of sustain on that center. Drake taken by Weibo. That is soul point for them. It is a big pickup if they can continue to survive the game. Package going to be used by Xiaohu to get into the base. Without Baron up, there's really no siege potential against this Corki. He can clear the wave so easily.
Yeah, they're going to have to look for an engage, which is what they're doing.
Yeah, the roots come on in, and actually they're just going to shred this tower. The cannon alone is enough. And now LNG, they take the inhib tower mid, and it looks like they'll walk away with their lives. Crisp is trying to find an angle, trying to find a flank, but it's just not going to happen. And now towards the bottom side, LNG go. They are systematically just walking around the map and picking up all of this standing gold.
Yeah, doing a nice job. Like we said, this in their last series win was kind of where it looks more reminiscent to, honestly, kind of the last few iterations of LNG and how they were playing is, wow. Crisp, okay, just getting some deep vision in there. I was hoping he was going to actually go for what would have been the most insane flank. Not only come from a crazy distance behind them, but also just actively go around the whole map.
We call that the safari flank, where you go for the tour first, check out all the wildlife.
It would have been an absolute banger, but in the end decides not to. And I mean, right, we're 8K gold up. It really should feel sealed for the side of LNG, but if Weibo can manage to buy time, especially if they can wait out this Baron that LNG are going to want to take, they actually might have enough, right? If they can wait for that next package timing and play for a soul. It's really easy to say that. I don't think it should be doable.
It does feel like a bit of a challenge, doesn't it? It does feel like LNG just have control at this point, despite the Drake going the way of Weibo. The amount that they lost to get that Drake doesn't feel massively worth it. Question is, can they get onto Gala? Crisp is here, and ZDZ on the Safari flank himself. And he's found a bird. The Aviary comes up big for them. Scout taken down, another huge pick onto the LNG mid laner. Xiaohu will not give him a break today. And now Weibo with a pick onto the mid laner. Is it enough? They lost so much HP.
They're so afraid of this set on the range that Gala is playing with. They can't deal with it. But look at the minimap. Zika is being such a nuisance. Pushes top, pushes mid. They have to go for these resets and they're getting canceled.
Oh no, this is going to be kills right here. Crisp goes in just to try and start something, but he's taken down. And Weibo with greedy recalls are punished, heavily losing their support. And suddenly the Baron is wide open for LNG. TP up for Scout, who's up in 12 seconds time. In
a play that looked like it might have been that swing, might have been a push towards the Baron. They just can't deal with the set at this point. She's just too big. It's chunked out. Now it's going to be Baron for the side of LNG, and they can keep that siege going like they were before.
It's an unmitigated disaster for Weibo. The series started so well, but the longer it's gone on, the worse it has looked. And now a 9,000 gold lead for LNG. Zika has been cruising through this game. He's got a 500 gold bounty at this point.
Yeah, just doing a great job at keeping that pressure up on the map and making Weibo have to make difficult decisions. Like we said, Gala just being able to play off that range. Sadly, Chris just ends up missing with the stun coming through, and then once the Gnar gets involved, it is done and dusted now. Getting even more completed items right before the replay. Scout finishing off the death cap. Feels like a big one, but even this Edge of Night for the Gnar. My God, like, Xiaohu, none of these guys can face him.
They really can't. They really, really can't. 4 items with a bit of lethality. It's a terrifying side laner to have to go up against. And I mean, he can kind of just chill as well. Like, so long as he doesn't step way too far out of position and get collapsed upon. But even if he does, like, the pressure from the rest of this team, it feels incredibly difficult to find any meaningful punish. Even if you get the kill onto the Gnar, they're going to take your entire base. It's a center and an Azir.
And they have so much disengaged, so much like space that they can control. It allows for Zika to just play that way. They're going to keep going as we see Xiaohu really being the true damage dealer. Have to keep hitting those rockets because, as we just saw, Gala's going to hit Q, and a lot of that HP is going to come right back.
Yeah. I feel like on a lot of casts, I'll throw to like, what's the last-ditch window of opportunity for Weibo? But honestly, you know, these are grown-ups. These are proper teams. They don't get last ditch. They need a miracle if they're going to come back into this one. LNG, they have them by the short and curlies right now. And Weibo, unless they can find some kind of ridiculousness, this is over. LNG in complete and utter control. And this could be the last ditch attempt here. You asked for a package timing. Well, Xiaohu's waiting in the base. I'm assuming that's for the package. TP available for him. But I don't think Weibo can pull the trigger.
Not going to go for it, and I guess, to be fair, this is going to push LNG to have to be more proactive. I was wondering if they'd send Gnar up to top side, have him answer that wave, and try and play out through that setup to try and break all the inhibitors at a similar time. But Gala is just... again, it just feels like Weibo don't really have the ways to deal with them. It's going to be up to this package and what Xiaohu can set up.
Here we go. Package, TP, the Safari flank once more goes to the Wolf Enclosure first. But here we go, the roots come in and it's already over. It's already over. Xiaohu's too late to the play. The rail gun across the team as Chris goes down. Xiaohu arrives. Big damage on Scout. But can they finish the job? The burn comes on through and they find one. Can they keep the game alive? Xiaohu versus the world. The Malignants burning away at the minion wave as well as Xiaohu desperately tries to clear them. The Baron buff has just timed out. The minion wave's no longer tanky enough. And somehow Weibo have kept themselves in the game.
That is ridiculous. Like you said, once the first member went down before the flake even came through, it looked like Weibo were going to have no chances, but they buy a bit more time, still 10k gold deficit, their base in shambles. But hey, at least you have a base, even if it is in shambles, as we're going to see here, right, just able to find the CC onto ZDZ, chain it into the Maokai coming through, but this Corki package, it actually didn't get layered across everybody. Does cut them off and leave them to space, but right there, yeah, the Brandol going huge. That finds the explosions to be able to finish Scout off, and having enough damage there from, you know, Xiaohu still being alive, and then of course the rockets coming out from Xiaohu to make it so LNG have to back off.
Oh my days, Xiaohu's damage in that fight. Nearly double anyone else, only Gala and Scout being able to contend even at all. And there we go. We asked for a miracle, and Xiaohu delivered. Weibo are still in the game. Weibo are still holding on. But LNG are at the gates. They've got a big wooden horse, and Weibo are like, we've seen that trick before. We're not taking it in.
Weibo already collecting.
They've got a big wooden rabbit.
Exactly. I was gonna say, Weibo already have, you know, 3 wooden horses and everything else. They're used to this. They know exactly what's going on. But I feel like those inhibs down.
They've launched the rabbit back out at them. What a great film.
With those like inhibs being down and again Gala's range just being so absurd. I mean, you're not going to be able to wait for another package, are you?
I guess let's wait and find out. Let's wait and find out. WeiWei getting aggressed upon, big damage there, but the twist advance onto the minion wave. Crisp is the one that takes the damage in the end, but WeiWei slowly getting whittled down by Light. Zika trying to threaten. Brandel, it's not quite enough, and in goes Light to try and save the day, but the twisted advance dodges the W. And LNG walk away with their lives. Gala trying to take an inhib in the meantime, as the Nexus towers are just getting taken down by the Winions. This is going to be 3 inhibs if LNG play their cards right. It's getting worse and worse for Weibo. Another flank, but he's totally on his own. Buffers a lot of the CC, but not all of it. There's just too much. All out, but it's into the entire team of LNG. There's nothing ZDZ could do about it. 4v5 now on the map.
Desperation coming out from Weibo. I mean, as it needs to, right? You're 10k gold down there trying to find the plays, but now LNG should just be able to march it forward towards the Nexus.
Xiaohu, big hit onto Gala there. And he needs a few more of those if he's going to hold on to this game for his team right here. Mark doesn't even notice the rocket hitting him. These Kainic Ruckans across the team getting so much value as Light literally just tickling Mark. At this point, Zika goes in and Weibo go out. Phenomenal engage from the top laner of LNG. Scout finishing the job here, and LNG, they're finally back on the map as they take down the undefeated Weibo.
Yeah, I mean, LNG, they were able to come in and show a much better kind of rendition with this Senna Tom Kench in my mind. I like the Gnar that they had up in top side. We saw the Azir coming out instead of the Orianna, and just them also being willing to punish Weibo's mistakes early on, keep it incredibly close and competitive. And it just felt like the longer it went, it's like, hey, Weibo, how does your comp really play into this Senna? How do you really find these opportunities? Yeah. I feel like we had to see a more impactful package play earlier on in the game, which sucks because Chris did set one up. Just sadly, Xiaohu wasn't really there in time to do anything other than die. So, yeah, this series is weird, man. This whole series was so strange.
It was a very weird series. Honestly, I think game number 1 was the game I enjoyed the most out of the series, with the Draven coming on through and a lot of crazy fights down in the bottom side. We started talking about the Botsgugen. I can't even say it now. I've been talking too much today, but yeah, crazy series. Very, very long, drawn-out games here between LNG and Weibo, and it felt like LNG at the end of it all, having the slightly better macro, having the slightly better positioning, just like it was really a game of inches between the two teams. And I feel like LNG, like let's say you get a score out of 10 for each of your like attributes as a team in League of Legends. I feel like LNG just had one more point in each attribute, you know?
Yeah, and I also, because I do agree, but I also will just kind of differentiate and give more context in terms of, I feel like in terms of a lot of like the tower trades, right? Playing off of some of the side lanes, that was the macro where LNG were really showing up. Weibo, we still got to give them kudos for this series as a whole and their split so far as a whole. In terms of like playing from behind, knowing how to like refocus on their win conditions. Hell, even that last game, they made it a lot harder than it should have been. That's like something there. It's such a hard skill to practice as a team of like, hey, how do we get good at playing from a 5K deficit? You know what I mean? And surprisingly, Weibo have found a way.
Yeah, they really have. Like, honestly, there were moments that I literally said they need a miracle. And then Xiaohu packages in from a million miles away and somehow they win a fight. I'm like, wait, are we witnessing a miracle? Is this actually going to be the comeback? Obviously, they lost 3 inhibs, so it still felt pretty difficult, but at the end of the day, a very, very tough composition to play into in the late game and still managing to find opportunities. Like you say, that is a huge statement from any team.
I want to say, like, I guess my takeaway after this series is that these teams are incredibly close in terms of, like, where you would put them, like, rank them in the LPL right now.
Definitely.
And just feels like both have different things to work on and that both have the talent and obviously like we've seen in the past should be contending with the heights of, I mean, hell, LNG last year taking JDG to 5 games, right? Weibo making it to World Finals. So I'm just excited to see that journey from like here we are now with like these levels of issues and problems to how we get back there, because I believe both teams can and will do it. It's just gonna be like the madness of the roller coaster that we get to go on with it.
The one thing I will say is so often in the LPL, there's at least one of these teams with so